Welcome back. Today's special guest is June Cox. Now, she is a psychic medium, a spiritual healer, and a Reiki master. So welcome to the show, June.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
You do a lot, so I had to pace myself with that.
That's fine. There's a lot of other things that I've done as well that is in the same area, so I didn't want to have you reading off a huge long list of things that I've done and what I haven't done.
Oh, I wouldn't have minded. I just need to write it down, that's all.
That's okay. I'm sure it will come out during this chat we have.
It will. So tell us, how did you get started in all this? Is this something that you were born with or something you discovered?
I was born with it, and it was very strange to me at the time, a little bit frightening because I didn't understand what it was all about. But it would be till I was about 4.5 that I actually began to realise there was something that was happening, and couldn't explain it, but it didn't scare me, but it was there, and I had to get used to it.
Oh, right. Can you share that with us?
Yes.
Do you remember? Yeah, 4.5 years of age is really young to have these
That's
ideas.
Right.
Yeah.
My grandma was bringing me up due to family circumstances, and there was an elderly lady opposite where I lived. Her name, I had to call her Auntie Ethel, though she wasn't my auntie. And every day I would go over and she would give me the money to go to the corner shop, which was just the bottom of the street, to buy her milk. My reward for this was a piece of fruitcake. She made the most beautiful fruitcake you could imagine. I only did it for the fruitcake.
It must have been good.
It was.
Yeah.
And one day I went over and her husband came to the door and he said, "I've got to take you, June, over to your grandma." And I thought, oh, have I done something wrong? And he took my hand and took me over to grandma, and he knocked on the door, and she came to the door and she said, "What's she done?" "She's done nothing." And then he said, he didn't know I could read and spell because I've been taught. And he said, "Ethel's D-I-E-D. She's D-E-A-D. And I thought, that's funny, because when I looked over the road, which was right opposite Grandma's, standing at the gate, there's Auntie Ethel. But Auntie Ethel in life was bent double with walking sticks. Auntie Ethel at the gate is glowing, light all the way around her and glowing, and she's upright. And she's smiling at me, and she's saying, "I'm sorry, June, you won't get any fruitcake today.
No.
But look at me. I'm not bent over. I'm not crippled with arthritis." And I'm laughing. And I'm saying to her, "Oh, that's great, Auntie Ethel. I'm so happy for you." And because I was laughing, I got slapped.
Oh.
You don't slap when somebody's died.
Right.
You don't laugh. So I got
my
slapped.
goodness me.
So that was really my first look at visually seeing the spiritual world.
I see. And did this last forever, really?
Yes.
Like, because it's never stopped, has it?
It's never stopped. That was the first time. Another time, that was the beginning of it, when I was 4.5, 5 years old at the most. And it was amazing. But it was a little bit frightening because I couldn't understand why this elderly man was crying that he'd lost his wife. I thought it was wonderful that she was happy, she was peaceful. She was no longer on 2 walking sticks. She wasn't bent over like she was. She was up straight. And the wonderful thing was she looked years younger. And I found that when people pass over, if there's somebody who can see into the spiritual world, they see somebody that's passed away or died, as we call it, and they look years younger.
Yes. That happened to me once.
Yes.
Yeah, I had a dream of my grandmother.
Yes.
But when I looked over at her, she was younger.
Yes.
And she was happy. She was watching me.
Yes.
And sort of motioning to me, "Go ahead, yes."
but she looked really nice. And a golden sort of, when I say
Yes.
golden, like a nice soft warm light
Yes.
around her.
Well, even the very old artists of years gone by have always painted somebody with a halo, with the gold light round here, and that's their aura.
That's
That's
the
their
aura.
energy field.
Yes. Yes, that makes sense now. When you know what that is, that makes sense.
Yes,
Yeah.
but when you're a little girl, it doesn't.
No. And that must have been really hard, being punished for just being a child. You're seeing something that obviously they couldn't see
Exactly.
nor understand. It's amazing how that didn't stop you from using your ability or sharing it.
I think it did in a way, not until I was older.
Right.
But there was things that I saw. I always got told, you tell the truth. You don't lie. So when I told the truth about something and it occurred, or there was something that was going to happen, I got slapped for it and told that was a naughty girl.
Wow. It's a hard
It's
one.
silly.
It's a conundrum. You
Yes.
know, you're not lying. You're not a naughty girl. You are doing the right thing. You are being
Yes.
honest. But obviously, they couldn't see it, nor understand it,
That's
or just had no inkling to even ask
No.
further questions about that.
But the wonderful thing now, Natalie, is that there is more and more awareness, and people are becoming more and more aware. And the wonderful thing is, they're not being slapped for it, they're not being put down, and they're getting over their fear. And that is one of the main things in today's world, with people that are becoming more and more psychic or spiritually aware or more intuitive. They're getting over their fear.
Yes, and that is one of the reasons why I'm doing this show, so we can the paranormal is becoming normal.
Well, to me, it's always been normal.
That's it. But to other people that aren't aware, they can perhaps listen to these interviews with openness,
Yes.
different goggles on, because when we have so many stories, like every week I release one of these
Yes.
interviews on a Friday, and it's every unique guest, every special guest, their unique journey, and people listening, the viewers listening to this, eventually, they might go, that's happened to me before. This is not so outside of us. This is perhaps something we all innately do
Yes.
without even knowing it.
Everybody has got abilities. They use them every day and they don't know they do. Can I tell you the 4 of them?
Please do. Tell me
Okay.
everything. Yeah.
I'll try, and it's not in particular order, so don't get that wrong.
Okay.
Everybody has the ability to know. How often have you spoke to somebody in a conversation and they say, oh, I know? Can be most annoying if you're trying to hold a conversation and you get told, I know. Oh. So those knowing people are what we call clairvoyant. Very often they don't know how they know, but they know. And I've known things from being a small child. So there's been times when I've known there's going to be an earthquake or a volcano going off, or like 3 years before it actually happened, I saw those jet planes going into the high-rise buildings in America. So I know. So I use the words I know a lot. So with people who know things,
Yes.
they have a colour that they particularly like, and that happens to be purples or lilacs. And they very often, with crystals, they love amethysts. So that is the clairvoyant or the knowing people. How often have you spoken to somebody, Natalie, and they've said, oh, I feel that terribly, or I've got butterflies in my tummy, what you've just said. They are feeling people, and they do feel things, and they will say, I feel, or that doesn't feel right to me, or oh, that feels marvellous, wonderful, lovely. And that is their word. Feeling people go for blue. They love the blue, and they'll go for blue crystals.
Right.
So it's quite amazing. Then you get other people that will they're very intuitive. Now, it's a little bit difficult to distinguish between the intuitive and the clairvoyant, because it's like you pick up the phone and you know who's on the phone before they've even spoke. So they might say, I know, or I guessed that right. They love maroons, they love red. We've then got the people that are very, very imaginative.
Yes.
They can see things, and like some people, maybe if say you had that picture over there slanting, they would go, I'm sorry, but I have to put your picture straight.
Yes, I know some people like that.
Exactly. And
Yes.
they love the greens. So it's
That's true. The person I'm thinking of, their business is green colours.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so this is something that happens every day with people, and they don't realise that they're using their psychic gifts.
Love this. I love this because it is innate in us.
Yes.
This is not something taught at school. Or...
It's always been there. Right from the day we're born, we've got this ability. Now, everybody has those 4. So there's 4 of them, and everybody has them. And if you get into a group of women or a group like at a barbecue or something like that, and you hear people talking, you can pick them out by the words they say. I see, I feel, I think, I know.
Okay, I love this. This is really good. You've really just boiled down the broth into the 4 varieties of,
That's right.
of intuition.
People don't realise this, and this is why if I've done a workshop, I've gone round to people and we've been talking, and they've given me their clues with the words they've used.
Right. And how do you use this then? Once you receive the clues, how do you use this information to help them? When they come for a reading, just say.
Well, if they're coming for a reading, I'm tuning in to them. And if there was to be anything happening outside, I would not even know about it. I'd be concentrating on them. And because I'm also so spiritually aware, being a medium, very often they'll walk in with maybe 2 or 3 of their friends that have passed over, or their relatives. So I'm getting those coming in. And some of them can be quite insistent.
Right.
So I talk to them first, and then we go from there. I do use some cards. They're just a tool.
Yes.
And I do ask some questions of my clients, but not for my benefit, for theirs, because I've always as a child I've said, all right, if this is for me, prove it, prove it, prove it. And so I like to be able to prove to my clients that what I'm saying is spot on for them. And they, like you're nodding now, I usually get the same thing. The clients are there, oh, they look quite startled. Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, and acknowledging it, which then helps you too to know, yes, you're getting the validation as well, and they are getting it as well.
Well, like we say, it's in the zone. So being in the zone with them and with what's coming through. At one time I used to be very scared, Natalie, to say, because I got so walloped for speaking. But once I got adjusted to it, no more fear, I just speak. I say what
How freeing. How freeing. That's really good. Yeah. So when you say things for their benefit, because you're leading, you can see the greater picture of things, I guess, and then without revealing it all, it sounds like you're validating their journey, but also dropping off a few breadcrumbs for them. Is that correct? Is that how it is?
Well, sometimes it's more than breadcrumbs, as you call it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be something that is a joyous thing. Sometimes it can be a shock, but whatever I'm given, I just have the faith and trust that what I'm saying is right for that person.
When have you been totally shocked about the message you received and thought, do I actually deliver this? This sounds crazy.
Oh, am I allowed to say that being on video?
Sure.
Okay. I had a client come this woman and her husband, whose name happened to be Drew. And all I kept getting from her was, oh, that's bullshit, that's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, well, I'm going to keep on and persevere here. It's like chipping at a brick wall, trying to get through.
Mm.
And I said, listen to your wife, how she's carrying on. Well, he was a Cockney. He came from London.
Mm-hmm.
They called them Cockneys. And he was as Cockney as possibly could be. So he turned round and he said, she's a silly old cow. And I went, I can't say that. He said, yes, you can, because I've called her that for a long time. So I said, well, excuse me, but your husband said I have to say it. He's calling you a silly old cow. She went, what? And she bristled. And so I said, well, you said you wanted proof. And she said, oh, but that can be bullshit. You could be making that up.
Wow.
Anyway,
so close-minded, sorry, considering
Yes.
she's coming for a reading.
Exactly. So I said to him, give me something that only you know. Well, he told me. And it's like my hand goes to my mouth. And I'm saying, I really can't say that. I've told her what you've called her. He said, yes, you can. He said, if the silly old cow can't listen and understand that I'm here and I'm talking to her, he said, knock her socks off. So I went, oh, okay. Then he told me. And so I said, okay, what about that pimple that you had on your, well, I'll say between your legs? And she went, what? And I said, hey, he only knows about it because he found it for you and had it removed. It was a cancer.
Oh, right.
So then she had to believe.
Right, that was the proof.
That was
Oh,
the
and I
proof.
got goosebumps up my legs hearing that.
Well, it doesn't happen all the time, but there has been one time when a lady came to see me, and as soon as she walked in, I went, ouch, and she said, oh, what's wrong, June? I said, no, it's not me, it's you. I said, you've got pain in your side, haven't you? She said, oh, it's been there for a couple of hours and it's getting worse. Well, my home is near Flinders Hospital, so I said to her, please go now, take yourself up to the hospital. I said, because I think you've got appendicitis.
Oh, wow.
And if she hadn't have gone when she did, it was ready to burst.
Really? And that can be fatal, can't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was another shock.
Gee whiz. Wow, well, you saved her life.
Yes. I didn't realise till afterwards that I had.
Incredible. So tell us about your journey. Tell us everything, June.
Oh, have you got 3 days?
Sure.
Okay. Well, as I say, I was a small child when it started. Due to family circumstances, I lived with my grandma, very old-fashioned. I'm from Yorkshire, from Leeds in Yorkshire in England, so I'm a Pommy. I call myself a Possie because I'm part Pom and part Australian.
Oh, I like that.
And so she was bringing me up very strict. I wasn't allowed to speak Broad Yorkshire. I had to speak more of the Queen's English, so I don't have a Broad Yorkshire accent.
What's the difference? Can you give us a demonstration?
Okay, if I was to come
I love accents.
Okay, if I can do it, I will. If I was coming in to see you today, I'd go, by gum lass, the looks good.
Oh, wow. That's very different.
So I wasn't allowed to speak like that. I had to speak the Queen's English.
Okay, gotcha. I wouldn't have understood you if you come to
No,
say
no. I would have even have said to you, you haven't got the clogs on, lass. Well, you wouldn't have known what I was saying. I was saying, in other words, you haven't got your shoes on.
Aha. My grandmother was from England, and she used to say stuff like, go and put the wood in the hole, and they meant shut the door.
Yes.
Is that the same sort?
Yes.
Oh, right.
Yes.
You got your bag of fruit and got your suit,
Yes.
that type of stuff.
Well, most of that is from the London area, from what we call the Cockneys.
Uh-huh.
They've all got that sort of saying for something that they're talking about.
Uh-huh. Everything in my house, if I ask, where's this, where's that? Because my mum, obviously, it's her mother. My mum was born here, though. She would say, up in Nanny's room behind the clock. Now, I don't know if that's an expression or just to just get me to go off.
I think it's a bit above.
I must have been annoying.
Oh, I was very annoying because who I am and what I am, if I was told to do something, it was why, what for. If I wasn't told what it was, I refused to do it. So I needed to know. It was part of my knowingness that you know what's going on.
Gotcha.
So that was my grandma bringing me up till I was 10 years old. And when I was a little girl again, here again, the spiritual world, my intuition, whatever you want to call it, said to me, she took me to see a psychiatrist because of what I was saying and doing and knowing. So I was taken to a child psychiatrist and he was questioning me. And have you heard of astro travelling?
Yes.
Well, as a child, I used to astro travel.
Did you? Wow.
And so I told my granny that I flew at night. So, of course, she thought I was going a little bit, you know. So she took me to the child psychiatrist. So I told him my story and he didn't believe me. So he said to my grandma, I'm going to prescribe phenobarbital, which is a very horrible, strong drug. You've got to give this child at night time half of a tablet. I got told, you don't take it, June. There's some fun here though.
Yes.
Sitting there at the side of me, like here, there's an aspidistra plant. And it was on a green stand with a nice green bowl. And I'm sat here. Grandma would give me the half a tablet. I pretend to swallow it. Good girl, June. And when her back was turned, out it came and popped into the aspidistra. It was the sleepiest, happiest aspidistra plant in the world.
Did it physically look like droopy?
No, it seemed to survive.
Really? Interesting. Good experiment.
But I just got told from the spirit world, you don't take it because it was a drug. So that was another thing, but that was childhood. And then 10 years old, I went from my grandma to live with my father and my stepmother. And I found that I'd got a brother and a sister that I didn't know I had. I already had a brother and sister of my own, but my brother had gone to live with my father's sister, and my baby sister was adopted because she was only 3 months old.
Right.
I don't know if anybody out there has been in Dr. Bernardo's homes, but if you have, you know what it's like. But it's a lot different today than what it was then.
Okay, all right.
And 10 years old, I think, was a turning point for me because my abilities grew even more. But I still got hit for telling my truth.
Oh, it must have been so hard for you.
Yes.
Honestly, I can't believe that you still. Well, obviously, the connection is strong.
Yes.
You know, even to tell you not to take the tablets. But really, that takes a strong person to actually still trust that.
I had that from childhood. It's something that I came with.
It's you.
It's me. And over the years, that faith and trust has got stronger and stronger and stronger because it's me.
It's you. Yeah. Just incredible. And the advice that you've given so far, just telling us your story, is even educating, I think, parents about take your children seriously. Potentially this might be going on.
Yes. Well, if you've got young children and they're talking to what you think is imaginary friends, please believe them because they're not imaginary friends. They've got the ability to see, think, feel and know that the spiritual world is there. And we've got a lot of children coming in today that are very, very old souls. So you who are having babies, knowing you're doing something wonderful because you're bringing these old souls into the world, and they are tomorrow's parents. So, good on you.
Love it, love it. All right. So after the age of 10, what happened from there on?
My granddad died, and we always used to go see him on a Sunday, and he was always cold. No matter, even in the middle of summer, he was cold. So he'd sit there with a big overcoat on, gloves, scarf around his neck, thick woolen jumpers, everything to keep him warm. And this Sunday I saw him, I opened my mouth again, I told my truth, I looked at him, and I used to call the aura, because I didn't know any better, the light. So Grandad sat there, and I just said to him, Grandad, your light's going out, you're dying. And wallop. Oh, did my ears rattle, did my teeth rattle. June, you don't say things like that. So that was on the Sunday. On the Wednesday, they had to fetch my father home from work to batter down the bathroom door because Grandad had died at the back of it.
Wowee.
We went to the funeral, stood there by the side of the coffin, and I heard my voice being called. So we're stood like this with the coffin in front of us. Over there, there's a tree standing underneath it, is Grandad. And he hasn't got all his woolies on. He's there in his ordinary trousers, an open net shirt, and he is glowing. Of course, he's a Yorkshireman, isn't he? So he said, "Hey lass, I'm sorry they got thumped. I'm so sorry." And I said, "That's all right, Grandad. You look lovely. You look really well." And burst out laughing. Then I got the slap around my head again. Only this time it was the back of my head. And if my dad hadn't have grabbed me, I'd have joined the coffin in the grave because I was going towards.
Oh, my Lord.
And I got told again, "You don't say things like that about your granddad. He's dead." And it was no good me saying, "But he's over there." These are just things that have happened to me that have made me who I am today.
And it's funny too, because you think that you said that the day before he passed, that his light was dimming and going out.
Yes.
You think they would have thought maybe June was onto something there?
No.
They didn't.
No.
That's really disappointing, but it is what it is, I guess.
Well, it's part of the journey.
Yes.
Everybody is here to experience things.
Yes.
And whether it's marvellous or indifferent or downright horrible, it teaches you things.
Absolutely. Every experience is a gift to learn about ourselves.
That's right.
To grow our consciousness and awareness.
And we're all doing it. Whether you believe it or not, you are all doing it.
Yes.
Take my word for it.
Yep, you're right. And then from there, so what happened after that? Because you said also your gifts grew and
they grew. There was the changes at 7 years old. There was a change at 10 because I went from my very, very strict grandma to my father and my stepmother's home. And because there was 2 children there, it was like, oh, I've got 2 children I can look after again because I'd looked after my brother and sister.
so you felt comfortable with that.
And to me, well, I'm a Cancerian. Cancerians are mothering.
Okay.
So it was like, oh, I've got 2 babies here I can mother and look after and everything. And then when stepmom fell pregnant and she was having a little girl, Linda, my stepsister, has got the name I would have had if stepmom would have had me.
Oh, right.
So
That's beautiful. And is she living over there or here?
Oh, all my relatives are in England.
Oh, right. How did you come to living in Australia?
Because some friends of ours were coming here and we had tossed up whether we'd go to New Zealand or come to Australia, and I just got told Australia it is. We came over here with a suitcase each, my husband's tools and a little bit of money in the bank, and it was the best thing we ever did because it gave me my freedom. I was out of the old English ways, allowed to be able to speak my truth, do what I needed to do. It was meant to happen.
It was meant to happen. That is wonderful. And you've been in Adelaide ever since?
No, when we first arrived, we were in Sydney. Then we came over to Adelaide to see some friends. We liked Adelaide so much. And this is the city of light. You know who invented it, who did the architecture, don't you?
Colonel Light?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's not a coincidence.
That's not a coincidence.
It's not
I
a coincidence.
see. What's your journey from there? How did you become a Reiki master?
Because for a long time I've always been a toucher. Are you okay? Does that hurt? I've just instinctively gone to touch. And of course, in those days you got told little girls don't touch. So I didn't know that I'd got something in my hands until one day I was working and I felt this huge amount of energy going through my hands, and I looked down and it was like, I'm looking like this. I can't believe what I'm seeing, because it was as if I got X-ray eyes, and I could see all the veins and the blood even going through my hands, and they were bright blue.
Your hands were bright blue.
My hands were bright.
And you could see inside of them.
As if I got X-ray eyes.
Yeah.
And I could see in my fingers, and I could see the bones, I could see the blood, I could see the corpuscles in the blood.
How does this happen? It's incredible.
It scared the living daylights out of me. So I rushed to the toilet and I washed my hands, still the same. And then later on that evening when I was meditating, I got told, don't be frightened. This is your gift. You've got healing hands. Oh, okay.
Incredible.
That was my reply. Oh, okay.
Okay, fair enough. And then you felt calm and
Yes.
you're no longer fearful.
No. So from then on, I just knew that if it was possible, that I would be able to do some healing with my hands. But I had to do some healing on myself first.
Okay. And, all right, so I've got a double question with that. Have you always had the same guide speaking with you, to
Yes.
you? Always the same one?
Yes.
It's one or a group?
Well, everybody has got their own guides or their own guardian angels. And the more that a person has, the more what I call a people person. And very often we've got masters. So you could have the Archangel Michael, a lot of people know about him. You can have Metatron. You could even have who we know as Jesus. There's
Raphael and
Raphael,
Ariel.
Ariel, and there's
lots.
There's lots of them. I could reel off name after name if I searched into my memories back. But everybody has got at least 2 or 3. But if you've got more, then you're very much a people person. You want to help people, and you find your way in life doing what you do.
Okay, so you have more because they help you on that journey.
That's right.
Because you're in touch with more people.
Yes.
Need a bit more support.
If there is a specific area that you need to work on, you always can get an extra one that deals specially in that area.
Specialists come in.
Yes, which is wonderful.
And what drew you to Reiki? I've done Reiki level 1 and 2. I'm not a Reiki master.
It was because I wanted to know what this energy was. And so I then, because I'd been doing some healing on some people, and somebody who was a Reiki master came to me, and when I touched her, she went, "Oh my God, June, do you know how powerful your hands are?" So I said, "No, not really." She said, "Well, you are already a Reiki master without actually doing the Reiki course." She said, "You've got the energy that you literally came in with, and here am I." So I can say I'm a Reiki master, and I do have my bits of paper.
Yes.
But it's still an energy that was here long before the Reiki master discovered it.
So you didn't need to go through all the attunements as they do when you do Reiki. You already had it. You were already attuned.
I was already tuned in.
Yeah. Incredible. And all right, so Reiki master. spiritual healer. So I met you at the Adelaide Body, Mind and Psychic Expo.
Yes.
We were back to back with our...
We were, weren't we?
we were. And that's how we met. And you had shared with me that you've been to, I think, bar COVID, every single one of them since the beginning. What has your experience been doing readings for people at the expo? Have people's questions and concerns changed? Because you've been doing it how many years?
Well, since I was born, more or less.
Yeah, but at the expo.
It has changed.
Yeah.
I had been going to that expo every year,
Yes.
bar for 2 years. So I was back again when we met. And there is a difference. When I first started with this, people wanted to know whether they're going to win the pools or whether they're going to win the lottery. And they were saying, am I going to meet somebody wonderful, or when am I going to meet them, and am I going to go on a journey? And they wanted more of what I call the worldly things. Being a clairvoyant, and because I knew at the time when there was going to be earthquakes or whatever, that was part of my work, but not anymore. People are becoming more and more in tune, becoming more intuitive, becoming more psychic, becoming more aware, and that goes with what's happening on the planet today.
It's good.
We're
Evolving.
We
It's
are.
confirmation that we are growing.
We are growing, but also, to my mind, Natalie, we're going back to who and what we've been before all the events that's happened in the world. Even the world itself is changing, yes, as we know.
Yes, yes. This is wonderful to hear, because we're all unique, we're all special, we're all meant to be here.
Yes.
We all have a purpose.
Yes.
And we're far greater than who we think we are.
Yes.
A lot of conditioning has sort of muffled that.
Well, I call it being programmed like a computer.
Oh, yes.
You have to do this, you have to do that. You can't do this, you can't do that. I say to people, knock the T's off. Can't, won't, shan't and don't. Knock the T's off. Can, will, do. That's simple.
Perfect.
Knock
That
the
is
T's
simple.
off.
Yep.
Fear says to us, you can't do this, you can't do that, but we can.
We can.
The purpose in my belief and the way I've been brought up, but the way with the spiritual world is that we're learning to unite, to care for one another. If we'd only care for each other and everybody else, it would be a much better world.
And we're getting there.
Oh, we're getting there. Yes, we're getting there.
I think nature will teach us, as in perhaps catastrophic events, maybe
Yes.
floods and things like that, that might make eating harder, growing crops, and then people will have to unite and come together and appreciate each other more.
But isn't it a shame that we have to have a catastrophe to bring people together?
Yes,
Wouldn't it be far better if we would unite
yes,
and be all as one
yes.
in the world without having to have a catastrophe?
Some people are there, but there's that herd mentality, I think, because we're a creature of of
Yes.
survival, fight or flight, I was going to say, but we're a creature of survival, and I think there's that herd mentality, and to break out of that and be an individual thinker is not the majority, it's probably the minority. So maybe it's sort of like giving birth.
Well, there's more and more people that are coming out of the herd attitude.
Yes.
And we've always been taught the culture, the area that we live in, the culture, the society, we do get programmed by it. So we have to learn to get out of it, and that it's okay. And when you can do that, it's like, well, it's freedom.
It is.
But it's like a baby. You have to take those steps slowly. You can't rush into it and say, that's it, because it's not. Where we're here now, we're going into it, but we're going in at the right moment, the right pace.
That's it. So everything is where it's meant to be.
Exactly.
And it's all good.
Yes.
And the other word I was thinking when you were saying can't, won't, is impossible, because if we break that word up, it's I'm possible.
Exactly.
Don't you love it?
I do. I do. Yes, that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Um,
Well, because I'm a healer, people don't realize that we have the ability to be able to heal ourselves. And of course, in today's world, we depend. Doctors are wonderful people. I've got a wonderful one myself, but they are scientists. People are beginning to turn now more to natural medicine, natural modalities. So whatever you choose, it is really good for you. I had breast cancer in 1991, and my world came toppling down. And people used to say to me, "But June, you're so spiritual. How come you've got breast cancer?" So I said, "Well, I have, but I'm going to discover why." Being the child again, why, when, what, for. So I began to discover why. A lot of breast cancers are, most of the problems we have today are coming from our emotions. So as a healer, I've discovered how the physical body reacts to the different things that are happening, and with the illnesses we've got. So my investigation into my breast cancer, of course, I asked all the help I could from the spiritual world,
Yes.
and I began to get answers from them. And they told me to look at different things. Now, the breasts are for nurturing.
Okay.
And if you've not been nurtured in some way and been badly hurt or anything, then you can easily develop breast cancer.
I see.
I'd not been nurtured as a child. So, of
Makes
course,
sense.
yes.
It makes sense.
So, there again, this is how I got the breast cancer. So, I worked on it, and I worked on it emotionally and everything.
Yeah.
And yes, when it was discovered, it was 10 centimeters. So it meant I had to have my breast off. And that worried me. But my husband said at the time, "Doesn't make you less of a woman, June. I love you just as you are."
Beautiful.
So I worked on myself. And when they actually took the breast off, that cancer had shrunk so much they couldn't slice it.
Really?
So it was fear that said to me, "Have it off and have done with it." But I think if I'd have persevered,
You'd have shrunk it
it would have
into
shrunk
oblivion,
yes, that's exactly out of me.
out of you completely.
But that, Natalie, was an experience for me to experience and learn, because the universe turned round and started sending me people with cancer.
Isn't that amazing?
It is.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And there's 2 or 3 of my clients that are still alive today that have said, about having the cancer, and they've got through it. And there again, there's another story about HIV when that started.
Oh, tell me about that.
I will. I discovered I wanted to know more and more about it from the medical point of view,
Yes.
but also from the spiritual. And lo and behold, the universe sent me a client who was HIV positive. At that time, I was learning about this gland here called the thalamus. And that, when you're born, is quite large, but it doesn't get any bigger, so it seems to be small. That is the area that helps with our immune system. So I got this man to beat his chest on the thalamus regularly 3 times a day or more if he felt it. When he first saw the specialist, his T cell count was way, way, way down.
Okay.
Went to see him a month later, and his T cell is almost normal. And the specialist is saying, "What the hell have you been doing?" And
that's what he was doing.
And that's what he was doing.
Stimulating and boosting the
Yes.
immune system.
Now, this man, he happened to be in a group of men and women who met once a month that were HIV positive. So I got invited to go along. And when I explained what I'd done and he verified it, I was almost booed off the stage.
Oh.
Because it wasn't scientifically proved by the doctors. But surely if a T cell count can be brought up, isn't that proof?
Isn't that enough? Yeah, not for scientists. They want to do their research papers and
That's right.
have all their mechanisms for proving it.
So they are two incidences that I've had in my
Incredible.
life regarding the healing side.
You're speaking my language too. I love this because in my work as a hypnopsychotherapist, I do look at physical ailments, and that helps me to help them because I trace it back to the mindsets. So
Exactly.
So that's been something I'm very passionate about, and I'm actually writing my thesis, my research paper about it.
Wonderful.
So it'd be good.
Well, that was something again, because I wanted to use my hands in a practical way. I've always said to the universe, if this is what you want me to do, then prove it to me.
Prove it, yeah.
Prove it.
Yeah.
And they've always proved it to me. And I met a couple, husband and wife, who were doing a course that gave a diploma in spiritual healing. And it was a week-long course. And I did it. I got my diploma. And I've used it ever since, which is associating the mind and the body, because our soul tells us what's needed.
Thank you so much for your time, for coming here today, for sharing your experiences with us, your life. We are really honoured and learnt a lot as well. And I'm sure the viewers have learnt a lot as well and been very interested.
I'd be quite welcome to come. I'm quite easy to come back because there's a lot more I could share.
I would love this. We would love this. So definitely.
With the healing and with spirituality and everything. Whatever we come here to learn, the good, the bad, the beautiful, it's for our soul experience. And that's the most wonderful thing. So all of you out there.
If you have enjoyed my show, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. If you would like to be my next guest on the show, my details are in the description box below.